Hello, good morning. My name is Kent Dewey Del Rosario, and in this morning, I will be giving an activity for each and every one of you. Now, in this activity, I would like to challenge you. I would like for you to identify certain words that describe the four pictures that I am about to present to you. But, wait, before you proceed to proper activity, I would like for you to prepare a 1/2 crosswise to write down your answers. Okay, I think you are now all prepared. Now, let us proceed to the first picture. So this is the first picture. Okay, I think you write down your answers. That's right. The answer is short. Now, on to the second picture. That's right. The answer is twist.
Now, let us begin with the third picture. That is correct. The answer is complete. What makes it obvious there is that there is a picture of a puzzle being completed. And the puzzle that is complete, we can always say that it is finished or completed. So, good job. And now, let's start with the fourth and last pictures. Yes, that is correct. It is actually flash, given that there is a symbol of lightning and actual lightning, and then there is a camera with the flash feature enabled. So good job, everyone. Actually, all of these sets, these four sets of images are actually related to our topic today. And now I will give the floor over to my group mates for further readings.
This activity is called Read It. This activity will challenge the students to recognize and describe the characteristics of a flash fiction story. The teacher will instruct the students to find a pair. When all students are paired up, then the teacher will distribute the paper containing the given flash fiction story with an answer sheet at the back.
Since we are done with our first activity and it seems that you guys are having fun, I will ask you some questions regarding the activity. But before I will proceed, I have prepared a wheel of names to pick random students to answer my questions. Okay, let's start spinning the wheel for the first student. Okay, we have Miss Ferdinand. So the question is, what do you think is the purpose of the writer in writing the story? Okay, very good. Thank you, Miss Ferdinand. Now let's proceed to the second student. Okay, we have Mr. Rivera. So the question is, how do you identify the main point of the story? Thank you for that answer, Mr. Rivera. Very good. Now let's proceed to the third student. Okay, we have Mr. Saigad. The question is, what are the reasons behind your observation? Okay, thank you for that. Good point, Mr. Saigad. Now for the last student, we have Miss Lurat. The question is there a clue that allows you to know that it is an example of a flash fiction? Yes or no, and why? Okay, very good. Thank you for that answer, Miss Lurat. Very good, class. So you are pretty good when answering the questions. So today, let's go on deepen your knowledge because we are going to learn flash fiction.
Hello there. At this point, we are to talk about what is flash fiction. So, what is flash fiction? It is a favored genre among the English-speaking world's most celebrated writers for its ability to convey deep truths and universal human emotions in just a few short paragraphs. Flash fiction is also defined as a very short story. While there is no set word count that separates flash fiction from more traditional short stories, flash fiction stories can be as short as a few words, while short stories typically run for several pages. Flash fiction is also known as sudden fiction, short stories, microfiction, or micro stories. We are now down to the ways of how to write a flash fiction. So first, creating a theme and characters. Number 1, pick a genre for your writing. Flash fiction can be in any kind of genre you'd like, but popular genres to choose from include romance, thriller, horror, and science fiction. Each genre has its own tropes to help you shape a unique story. Brainstorm the type of narrative you'd like to write and like to read so you can start thinking of ideas. Number 2, choose an overarching theme for your flash fiction story. The theme is the main moral argument of the story and the message you want to leave with your readers. Some common themes you can use for your flash fiction includes love, family, death, and power. Write down what themes you may want to use for your story so you can use them to influence your character and plot. For example, if you want your theme to be love and sacrifice, you may choose to write a story about someone who works all the time just to earn money for someone they care about. Number 3, create an interesting and flawed protagonist. Your main character needs to have a motivation and goals in order to progress through your writing. Make their motivations believable so your readers can relate to them easily. Give your protagonist some flaws so they aren't perfect and have difficulty achieving the goals. Only focus on one character since your flash fiction piece needs to be short. For example, your protagonist's goal may be to find hidden treasures, but he is afraid of crossing the ocean. Number 4, choose an antagonist that your main character needs to overcome. Of course, a protagonist always meets with the antagonist. The antagonist is the main force fighting against your main character. Your antagonist could be another character, something in nature, or even an internal struggle. Make sure your antagonist directly affects your protagonist and the outcome of your story. Like for example, your protagonist could be someone stuck in the forest and your antagonist could be a wolf trying to hunt them.
Hello, good day. This time I will teach you on how to outline the plot of your flash fiction. So there are 3 ways on how to do it. First, pick a single moment in your character's life to focus on. Second, make your protagonist deal with a single conflict throughout the story. And third, create a surprise ending. The first one, that is to pick a single moment in your character's life to focus on. Since flash fiction is too short to get into the entire life of your character, you need to choose one moment to write about. Consider the theme you choose to write your piece around and choose an event related to it. It could be part of an everyday routine or something large that changes your character's life. For example, if your theme is about loss, you may write your flash fiction piece about how someone's daily routine changes the day after someone they loved passed away. And I will give you a tip. Create a character sheet of your protagonist so you can list all their traits in detail. The second one is to make your protagonist deal with a single conflict throughout the story. The conflict is what causes tension and creates your story. Use your antagonist to challenge your main character so they have something to overcome. That way, your reader will feel satisfied as your character finishes their arc. For example, if you were writing a story about a boxing match, you may have your antagonist want your main character, so it's more challenging for your protagonist to win the fight. Also, don't use multiple conflicts in a flash fiction piece since it can get confusing and wordy. And the third one is to create a surprise ending. Many flash fiction pieces end with a surprise ending that the reader doesn't expect. Make the ending as a resolution to the conflict you told throughout your writing, but done in a surprising way. That way, your readers will feel satisfied with the story and want to read it again. So now, let's move on to drafting a story. How to draft your story. So there are also 3 ways on how to draft it. First, use language that's descriptive and concise. Second, make each sentence reveal the character details and advance the plot. Then third, give your flash fiction a fitting title. The first one is to use language that's descriptive and concise. Make sure all your characters' actions and intentions are clearly communicated through your writing. Aim to write sentences with the fewest number of words you can use while still maintaining clarity. Instead of writing backstory, summarizing the feelings or emotions tied with the events instead. For example, if your protagonist's childhood is relevant to the story, do not write, Sarah was born in a bathtub in Kansas City and lived there through elementary school when her father got a job in Tulsa. Instead, say something like, Sarah reflected on her brief and unfulfilling childhood as she waited for a taxi. And the second one is to make each sentence reveal the character details and advance the plot. Include your character's qualities and personality in your sentences so your reader always gets new information about them. Throughout your writing, your reader should learn something new about the character or plot. Do not include any sentences that are just descriptions or slow the plot down. Then use your character's dialogue to help reveal information or progress the plot as well. And the last one is to give your flash fiction a fitting title. Your title should reflect the main ideas or conflict of your story. Brainstorm your theme and the elements of your story to see how you can combine them to make your title. Think of something catchy and easy to read so your reader is more likely to remember it. And also, your title can help describe any backstory that you didn't include. For example, if you're writing a story about a husband doing the routine of his wife who passed away, you may call your story In Her Footsteps.
Hi, hello. After we have discussed the definition of the flash fiction, how to write a flash fiction story, how to create the theme and characters, how to outline, draft, and now we are going to have the edit your work. This is the final step on how you create your story, and of course this is the most important part. Okay, now first, when we say editing your work, it simply means that give your story to other people to read and critique. You know, follow and listen to other people's feedbacks. This is the most important thing when you're going to write a story or any other stories, just not like a flash fiction story. Okay, listen to other people's feedback, write down their feedback, and make sure that the people that are going to read your story are those the closest one, or for example a professor or a person that is something knowledgeable about flash fiction stories. And write down their critics and make sure that you know about the answers whenever the other people were going to read or have questions about your story. Okay, and the second part on editing your work is, of course, edit until you're happy with your piece. Making changes until you're happy with your piece. This is the most important part. This is also the important part of editing your work. Make sure that you're happy with the changes that you are going to make. You know, because there are some instances that other writers tend to have another story just because other people critique it. Just continue rewriting and continuing to enhance your flash fiction story to at least some of minimal words that could think the people that the story is interesting, the story is good, and it has less characters, just like we will discuss about the characters in the flash fiction story. Okay. And of course, after editing your work, we have the do's and don'ts when you are going to make a flash fiction story. First, when we say do, avoid the unnecessary. Jump into the story, get on with it. You don't need to have so many plots, so many twists, and other ways of writing a story. Just go on with it. Avoid the unnecessary. Second, be original. Be original with your story. Use your own descriptions that could make the readers interesting about your story. Okay? Third, we have keep your descriptions concise. One word is enough. Keep in mind that this is a flash fiction, meaning flash is just like a short story. Okay? Short story meaning one word is enough. Next, make sense. Write clearly and don't confuse your readers. Write with your own pace. Right? Write your own pace. Be original, make sense to your readers. The last one is proofread carefully. This is the final part when you are going to write the story after it will be proofread with the other people, or you can proofread it with your closest friends, or your professor or teachers. Proofread. The final version of every flash should be perfect. It should be perfect. These aren't any spelling corrections or any punctuation errors. It should be perfect. Now, after we discuss the do, now we are now in the don'ts. Don'ts meaning have lots of characters. Avoid that. Do not have a lot of characters. Do not have a lot of settings. Do not explain everything. Again, this is a flash fiction. You are going to write your story concisely and do not explain everything. Fourth is do not assume that your first, second, and third draft is perfect. Accept changes. Accept minimal errors that you're going to change in your story. And fifth, do not forget that your readers want their imagination stimulated. You're going to write a flash fiction story, meaning that your readers will use their imagination. Use their imagination to read your story. Use their imagination to come up with what are the possible happenings that are going to have in the story, right? This is the most important part of the do not do in your flash fiction story. Now, that's the thing in our discussion, and to properly assess if you learn something in our story, let's have our assessment to see if you really learned something in our discussion today. Alright? Thank you.
Since we're done with our discussion, we will now proceed to our group activity. Remember the groupings that I have assigned you in our first day? That will be the groupings for this activity. Now, in this group activity, you will be tasked to write a microstory, in which microstory is like fiction or flash fiction, in which it is composed of approximately 300 words only. And in this, I have a picture here. I will be presenting a picture. Sir, what is the connection of this picture to our activity? Well, guys, in this picture, you will be basing the concept and flow of your story. And I wanted you to come up with different and unique stories, okay?
Now, I will be giving you 5 minutes to brainstorm with your group mates, and afterward, I will give you 10 minutes to work and write on with your story. So there will be 15 minutes to work with your story. The gets? Chicken. Okay, timer starts now. Okay, time's up, guys. Now, I wanted you to select a representative in your groups who will be able to share and present your story in the class, because we will be having a story sharing activity right now. And we will start with the group 5. Wow! Give yourself a round of applause, guys. Thank you for the creative and unique outputs that you've come up in such a limited time, right? I'm really proud of you guys. And with that, it seems like everyone is ready for our next activity.
Okay, class, now that you have learned how to write a flash fiction, from creating a theme and characters, outlining the plot, drafting the story, editing your work, and considering the do's and don'ts of writing a flash fiction, it is time for us to assess how much have we learned in this lesson. Yes, you are now going to compose a flash fiction of your chosen topic. But oops, don't forget the characteristics of a flash fiction: brevity, complete plot, and a surprise.
Okay, the flash fiction or your composition will be graded through the following criteria: ideas 10 points, voice 10 points, organization 10 points, word choice 10 points, sentence fluency 10 points, and conventions 10 points, with a total of 60 points. Okay, class, you may begin the activity. Okay, it seems like we are running out of time, so please send your outputs in my Gmail account. Let us call it a day, and I hope you learned something. Bye, students!